Good evening, everybody. I guess it's sort of evening, early evening.
It is evening, 6 o'clock
It's PM here.
Central Time.
It's evening. Welcome back to Midwest Outcast Podcast. It's been, I don't know, almost a month, 3 weeks, I feel like, since our last recording. So it's been a little bit. So um tonight is another episode 3. So we have some fun things kind of planned for this evening, and we're just gonna kind of go with the flow and see where it takes us. So we hope you've all had a great last couple of weeks, and if you've been in Nebraska, it's been super hot.
It has been, but it's kind of like getting cooler-ish,
Right, like the last
back
couple
to
of days, I
normal.
was like, wow, like it's almost chilly, but I didn't put a sweatshirt or anything on. I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. I love them. I mean, I love the warm weather. We've talked about this before. Like, I don't like the winter. So, I mean, I'll take the heat, but man, after like a week of it, it's like, okay, where's the cooler temps?
Yes.
For
Well,
sure.
I'm in my basement, so I have a sweatshirt on. So,
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm just in my good old dining room, and my air conditioner actually went out during this heat.
ooh, what a
Yeah.
slap in the face.
Yeah,
Ooh,
and it's a window air, and so luckily my landlord was home at the time, and I'm like, yeah, hey, I think my AC kind of took a turn for the worst, and he was like, oh, it didn't really sound very good yesterday because he lives like right next door pretty much, and I'm like, cool. So yeah, so that was fun. So luckily I just had to go like a day without, so it wasn't bad. But man, this one's like huge, like not huge, but like way bigger than the other one, and man, it's great.
yeah.
So welcome to 2023.
We're almost fall. Pretty
Almost
soon it'll
fall,
be
and
those
yeah,
cool nights. It'll
yes,
be
your fireplace
beautiful.
back out. Mhm.
Yeah. So just a recap of the last couple of weeks. Well, the first week episode was pretty much just us explaining us
Yeah.
and what you're in for. And
Mhm.
last time was about emotions and how to deal with them a little bit. They're
Right,
crappy.
right,
Emotions are
sure.
not fun to feel sometimes
Absolutely. Always up in the air, I feel like, but it's always good to express your emotions. So,
in a healthy way.
yes, in a healthy way, healthy, positive way.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
But anyways, tonight's episode is going to be about Joey
I
and
love
his journey.
love when things are about me. Just kidding.
But really,
Oh, yeah. So I thought for this podcast, since this is kind of our way of kind of sharing things about us and kind of what we've gone through, but also to educate, right? So I wanted to share my coming out story journey. I mean, it's not really a story. I mean, it's not like super elaborate or anything. I mean, but some definitely can. I mean, some I do want to like share that some people's stories definitely aren't like mine. Like everybody has a different journey, and I did mine very kind of casual and like on my terms, which is very, I think, not. I mean, I feel like it's very ordinary, I guess. But some people don't get to do it on their own terms. Some people are forced to do it. Some people are mistreated. I mean, I definitely went about it very um, respectfully for myself. And also, I kept like my family and friends in mind, if that makes sense too. Like a lot of people
mhm.
do, let's be honest. So that was helpful. Um, and I always think about too, like, what if maybe the what ifs, right? We all love the what ifs. But like, what if I was classified more as like a more straighter male, where like the typical jock, right? High school quarterback, used to date the, head cheerleader, all those things. That might have been different. Like my story might have been different, right? But for me, I felt like from an early age, and a lot of my family and friends can contest to this too, but um I always felt like I was different, right? Not like in a bad way, but just I knew I was not like the rest of my friends, right? I always felt like out of place sometimes at family functions. Um, I would say like my parents, like both each side of their family, like completely 180 different. Like one side I would say is very liberal, one side's very Republican. Like, and so I always felt like at a place on my dad's side. And I still do at times, but now that I'm older, I kind of just don't put up with the BS and the comments and things like that. My mom's side though, I also like don't talk to a lot of people on that side too for other reasons, but so I feel more maybe comfortable with that. But
Mhm. Just
growing
kind of
up,
going back real
yeah,
quick. Sorry to stop
yeah,
you, but
no.
um looking back now or even talking to your family members, what did they what did they say, what stood out to them when it comes to you coming out?
Right.
Like how
So
did they know or had a hunch?
So it was very I did it like I said on my own terms, and I never really thought I would do it. I thought I would just like go through life and just, come on, hey, this is my boyfriend, whatever, like, and just go with the flow. Because again, like the actions I guess portrayed, nothing crazy, but like the things I did, um, and the people I hung out with, like obviously a lot of my friends were female. I mean, I have some like male friends, but like not a whole lot. And I mean, I probably could if I wanted to, but kind of just my choice. So I mean, I think that helped too. But I would say, like my mom, for example, like when I told her, she was like, okay, like, super like, okay, whatever, like, thanks for letting me know. Super supportive, right? But she also like
Mhm.
mentioned, she's like, I always like wondered like maybe if you were like transgender, because growing up, which like think about now, I'm like, okay. Think like growing up, I would always like we would always play dress up at my grandparents, like stuff like that. Like it wasn't like full on like drag queen, like everything.
Right.
But she always like kind of noticed that, and I was like, no, like I'm not, but thanks for like acknowledging it, whatever. So I think from a young age she also knew, but also she didn't want to bring it up, right? Because again, in a way, like none of her business in a way.
Mhm.
But like she never like forcefully or like never asked about it, and no one really did up until high school. As I got into high school, and you have like typical douchebags in high school, right? We all have them in high school. Sometimes you would get like they would ask you or acknowledge it, and I would just like deny it or just ignore them. Like again, nobody's business. Like I'm not here to please anybody, right? Um, and so I would say my mom, I mean everybody really, like my dad, I guess I don't really recall like ever having like a full on like sit down conversation with him. And that's always just been our relationship. But like he's aware, and I mean it's fine. Like sometimes he'll joke about certain things. Like if I have something I need fixed in my house, he'll like butch it up and get it done. Like he'll joke about things like, and it's whatever. But yeah, he always likes to make jokes about something. But again, so I feel very supported by my family. I can't recall it ever being negative in a way, really. So that I guess is probably good in a way.
Sure. Yeah. Um, looking back, what made you feel that that was the right time to come to speak about it?
Um, a couple things. So I feel like I was becoming a more professional, and felt like I needed to share just with the career path I was going down. And I knew at some point it probably would come up. And it still does. Like, I work with older adults, and we know back in the day that it wasn't, appropriate, or it really wasn't, I mean, legal, obviously, but it just wasn't a thing back then, and people really, frowned upon it. And so now sometimes I'll still get like, oh, are you married? Like, do you have a girlfriend? I'm like, oh no, like I'm single, like, and I'm not gonna disclose things at that point, but
Yeah, fair
um
enough.
so I felt like I was just becoming more of a professional. I felt like it needed to be done. I didn't announce it to like my bosses at the time, but I felt like that was why I did it. And I also, like, super crazy story, but I bought this sign, this home decor sign, and I hung it up in my house. And as I hung it up, I was like, I think I'm ready to do this. And it was just like myself, and I was like talking to myself, like, all right, like this is what's gonna happen. You're either gonna get a lot of support, or you're gonna get backlash, whatever. I'm gonna see if I still have the Facebook post that I shared. I totally deleted it. I deleted it because I'm like, what's the point?
Sure.
Yes, I totally deleted it. So the quote was, you can go back and wait, you like nobody can go back and change the ending, but you can go back and like make a new start. Like, I'll have to find it, but like pretty much saying like nobody can go back and change how they started it. Like you can change the ending, right? Um, and I have it hung up in my office now. And I just felt like I wanted to change the ending of my story. Like I wanted to have this new kind of life in a way. Like I wasn't hiding anything. Like I wasn't
Mhm.
dressing super straight or jockey, like anything to like not fit the standard, I guess. But um at some point, like it was gonna be questioned. I didn't receive any negativity. I remember on like the Facebook post, which I did put that on there. So I was like, hey, like no negativity, like I get everybody has their own beliefs, whatever. Please just scroll on by. And I didn't have any negativity. Very good amount of support. My coworkers at the time, I had sent them a text message. And again, like they both obviously were aware, like, oh, we assumed, but blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
But again, like they never once said anything, so respectful. Um, and as I switched jobs in the last 3 years, again, I never really announced it, but then again, the assumptions, right? So then like I did share it with them at some point. But yeah, I really think at that point, once I became a more professional, really it was probably grad school. I mean, in a way, you think about 3 years ago, that was close to grad school. I mean, so I just felt that was the time. So
Wow. That's
yeah,
interesting. So when you did make the announcements and stuff like that, who did you come out to first and why did you choose that person?
right. So I like I said, with that sign and just my thoughts at the time, I like wrote a little note like in my phone. I have your little notes tab. And I just like wrote down like I wrote the quote first, and then I kind of just like wrote like my feelings in a way, right? And then my best friend, childhood best friend, really, we've known each other since daycare, and we're still best friends. And I just had sent it to her at the time, and I didn't give her a warning. I just copied the note and sent it, and just casually sent it. And of course, like she texted her back and was like, "Oh my god, like super supportive, like whatever." But I don't think at the time she knew that she was like the first person. And obviously she does now. Like she's not finding out right now. Like, hey, you already know about it.
You were
But
the first.
woo, you were my first. But I felt like she was the one that would understand and I think appreciate it too. Again, she was already aware, really. But again, like there was never no pressure to like um and so from there I remember I sent like a text to like some other family that I'm like, I'm not calling everybody and gonna do this. And then I sent a text to my family, like my immediate family. We had like a group chat. I'm like, I'm just gonna text them because I know my mom will call, like whatever, and she did, of course. And then my grandma called, and then I had a few other family members call, like whatever. Um, but again, like I guess I just thought that she was the one that even just not deserved to know, but in a way did. Like she put up with me all these years with my crazy nonsense and stuff, and um I just felt like that's who I knew would understand and support me the most in that moment.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Were you scared?
I mean, not really. I think because I had the feeling that a lot of people already assumed, and so I was kind of wanting to kind of see if that was true. Like, were my thoughts of everybody assuming that I was gay or bisexual, whatever at the time, which never was. But I think I wanted to kind of see if my belief was true. Like, did everybody assume and where was everybody right? I I remember like there was no like shocked feelings from anybody like on the Facebook post that I can think about. Like everybody was super supportive. And I can recall like somebody commented on the post and she said, so you're telling us you're human, right? And I thought that
Interesting.
very like interesting, but also brave too, because at that point, like it was still very, I mean, it wasn't like gay marriage wasn't legal at the point time. All of those, laws that weren't passed then. But like, so I was like, oh man, is she gonna get backlash? That was my first thought. Like, thank you for the support.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
is she gonna get backlash? Because that was my thought too. Like, am I gonna get backlash? Am I gonna lose my job? All of these things, like all that went into your mind. Knowing that my job wasn't gonna, you know, fire me or anything like that. But that was my first thought. And now like looking back, I'm like, how shitty was that? Like of not I mean, I obviously acknowledged her support and was very, grateful for her. But at the time, like that, is she gonna get backlash? Oh my gosh, she just said that. And of course, you think about that then, I don't want any of my friends that are commenting on my stuff to get backlash from other people because we all know how social media is. You post one
Right.
picture and someone's like, "Oh my gosh, like you look too fat in that," or "Oh my gosh, like why would you wear that?" Like there's gonna be people that are gonna comment those things on people's posts. Hopefully, nothing to that extent because it's ridiculous. But that was my thought at the time.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, I think just the support I think was what helped me too. And I still get support every once in a while. Um, I mean, not like super crazy because at the time, like everybody was reaching out, and I was like, "Oh, I can hook you up with this person, this person." I'm like, "Hey, like, let's tone it down." Like, and then at one point too, I was like, what if it would have been like I waited until I did have somebody and like, oh hey, by the way, you know, but
Sure.
at some point I'm like, I was just thinking about like just going off and getting married, like being with somebody, not in secretive, but in a way like keeping it private. I think I still will once I do like find somebody and be in a more stable kind of relationship. I think I will keep it pretty private. And I think that even like up until like, I mean, maybe even marriage too. Like I feel like that's just kind of where I see my future in this going. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it hasn't happened yet, so but it's kind of what I envision.
Yeah. How old were you when you came out?
Um 25, 26. Like old, I feel like. I mean, probably not as old as some people can be. Some people probably never do fully come out. Some people do younger or forced to. But what I really like now is, and this is no plug, we're not sponsored, but the Trevor Project. And they really specialize with like the youth, LGBT. population, but they have so many resources out there, so many, and probably even more now than they did, 5, 6 years ago when this all went down. And I didn't utilize them then. I didn't really know about it then, but as this process unfolded, I definitely have utilized their website, their social media, and I've really just kind of learned how it is, and it's okay to be different, as people do say, but like also I don't feel any different. Like I'm still the same person, right? I might not um get to have like the traditional, family, right? Or I mean, I can't say kids will be my future. I mean, I do want kids, but how, we I don't know. I mean, adoption's very expensive.
It
Uh,
is expensive.
and as a single man, I feel like it's even more different to do, maybe. I haven't really looked into it a whole lot, but I know like my mom like always talks about grandkids and always like, I want grandkids. Like, and not that I feel like, oh, it's up to me, but like I am the oldest, right? My siblings are in no place in their life to have kids. They're both single. I mean, I think they might have somebody on the side. I don't know. But like they're not in a place in their life to have kids. So I feel like, I mean, it's gonna have to come from probably them, in the future for that. But again, like I don't know. And so that's my other thing too is, I want that like traditional life, but I don't want it the way most people classify traditional,
Yeah.
which now I think it's becoming more traditional for, gay couples to adopt and, things like that. I think it's becoming more recognized, but not in small town Nebraska, which I don't foresee myself bringing somebody here and living here when that time comes in my life, partially because of how how people view things. Like I don't feel like I'm getting like discriminated by all means here, but like
Right.
some of the conversations I've overheard in the community, even in like the surrounding communities I go to, and I'm like, ooh, so I definitely feel like for my own sanity and my own, like I know it's best to move on. But
Yeah.
I don't know when that'll happen, and maybe it won't. Maybe my assumptions will be wrong. I don't know.
Time will only tell. Um, the question that popped in my head is like, how much time was it from telling your first person to them posting it on social media? Did you let go in between, or was it right away?
I feel like it was all on the same. It was like on an evening. Like it just felt like after I told her, she, I got obviously the validation that I was looking for, which I knew I would get from her because that's just the type of person she is. And then after I wanted to tell like my immediate family, like my parents, my siblings, I didn't care about like essentially anybody else.
Sure.
Um, like, I mean, I could have just put it out on Facebook to begin with and said F everybody else, like, but I felt like my family, deserved to know ahead of time. And then I posted that evening, and I mean, it was a lot of support at once. Like I was getting text messages and phone. I'm like, oh my god, like what did I just do? Like I'm the president. So it was a lot at once. I remember, but I felt like I just needed it all to be done with, and kind of just wash my hands and put it away, and just let it be out there, and whatever happens happens. I mean, it's out there now, and I wasn't gonna unchange it.
Mhm.
I was prepared to have backlash because I just knew that's at the time what we were living in. um and I didn't. and so that made me feel good. But um I also feel like at some point there's still going to be some backlash, if that makes sense. Like, and it's probably because I'm still living here, and so it's almost like I'm still closeted in a way, like, if that makes sense. Like, I mean, I've left obviously my community and stuff, but like maybe it will be different if I go somewhere where it's more prevalent, like where there's more community, more
Hmm.
communities, like
More
maybe,
accepted.
right, where like, holy crap, like I want to go back in, like this is too much. Like, I know it won't happen because obviously, but like, and I've had numerous friends like you need to go out and experience that. Um, but I've just like I'm not at that point in my life yet. But also I'm like, dude, you're 30, you got to figure out your life. Like you're younger. But I'm content with where I'm at in my life professionally, I would say. Personally, obviously we all have things we want to work on, but I'm very content where I'm at professionally. So I don't want to change anything yet, but I do know like what I want in the future, um, personally and professionally. So I just don't know when the right time is to take that step. But again, who does?
Yeah. You'll figure it out. I mean, it will just come to you and you'll just be like, yep, let's go. We're going. We're going down this trip now.
Right.
Um, so kind of going backwards a bit, how old were you when you realized that you were gay?
Hmm. I mean, young probably. I feel like obviously I don't remember a whole lot like when I was young, like probably, I mean, I remember some stuff like when I was 2, 3, whatnot. Probably not then. I would say probably not even elementary school. I mean, obviously there was attraction to girls then. I mean, but nothing like super like, if everybody wants to have a little, elementary girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah.
And obviously then like that doesn't go anywhere. Like there was never any kissing or anything like that that I can remember. I would really probably say like junior high probably is when I noticed a little bit more of like, all right, like something's off. Not that I was like sick or anything, like how homosexuality was treated like that.
Mhm.
Back in the day, I never felt like I was mentally sick or anything, but I just felt like something was off. And so then I really just had to kind of do therapy. But my therapist at the time, um, we didn't really talk about it a whole lot. They're like, oh, let's just medicate you, of course. Um, again, didn't work. But I feel like as I would say middle school probably is when I noticed that the attraction to females was not the attraction that most men have. I mean, I feel like I'm just more attracted to females like personality wise, like because I feel like men. I mean, I'm not gonna shade men, but like I feel like their personalities obviously are different, but I feel like my personality connects more with females. I'll just kind of leave it at that. Men, though, obviously we know like some of their tendencies and stuff like that. And so as I witnessed that in school a little bit, like in high school, and just kind of seeing like some of the behaviors, right? I mean, you see some behaviors with females in school, right? Like the shadiness, the cattiness, the clicks, whatever. But I felt like I was always drawn to the female kind of friendships. I mean, I have like I said, male friends. I mean, one of my best friends is a male. We've been best friends like since birth. Um, and we lived together like in college, our first year. I mean, and so there was no like changes with that or anything. Um, and so that was fine. And then the other males in my life, I guess friend wise, I mean, we're not, I guess, super close. So I didn't feel like I needed to disclose that with them. But I would say my uncles and stuff. Like I have a cousin on my mom's side who is gay, and a cousin on my dad's side is who's gay. And I remember when my cousin on my dad's side got married and they adopted a baby, like there was some backlash a little bit from my family. Nothing bad, but like there was some stuff that I didn't feel like was necessarily appropriate. And I was like,
Sure.
oh God. Like, because at that point I knew, but I was obviously still in the closet. And so I was like, this is not gonna go well because of some of the backlash that I've heard. And now like it's better, like um, I mean, like I said, I don't go over there or I don't associate with them a whole lot, but when I do, I kind of just keep my opinions to myself. And like if they're saying stuff like that I feel like is not appropriate, I just kind of just sit there and like, you know. But
Mhm.
again, typical male sitting around outside drinking, and then you get alcohol into it, and I don't
Yes.
know what happens when alcohol gets involved.
So, what took so long? Not necessarily saying it was bad or anything, but from the time that you figured out that this is different, I'm male and I should be going for females, but I'm not, to the time that you decided to come out.
Um, I think um I obviously during the time of like middle school and being in high school and stuff, I obviously did some research and kind of like determined that wasn't the best time just because of how some people were treated in schools, and realizing that there were some people in my high school that I feel like probably would have maybe bullied me if they would have fully known. But I also feel like I had a good friend group that would have been there to protect me, but also, I don't know. And so I kind of kept it hidden for that reason. But also, I felt like as I went into college, I probably could have done it like right after high school and been like, F all you people. I don't care about you anymore. Um, but still in college, I kind of kept it pretty secretive. Again, the assumptions all there, whatever. So yeah, I think I just kind of just wanted to kind of get into that next chapter after high school and kind of see how that went. And then, like I said, it kind of just happened.
Sure.
I definitely, like, now looking back, I probably would have done it like right after high school. I don't think I would have done it in high school just for those reasons. Again, I don't know if there would have been any bullying or harassment, but just from some of the people that I went to school with and knowing like how they treated other people, it definitely could have happened. So I kind of just wanted to keep myself safe in a way.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Like you just don't think about that, I guess. I mean, the
No,
safety aspect of it, and especially now, I just feel like schools are way worse now.
sure. Like I can't imagine now being a teen and going through that. And that's like partially one of the reasons I want to become a social worker. I don't think I could ever be a school social worker. I mean, I've never tried. I mean, maybe, but I mean, who knows? But um it's just something that I felt like I could better the world, maybe. I don't know. Not that I'm gonna, become president or do anything super crazy like that, but I feel like my experiences when with what I've gone through, I feel like I definitely could help a lot of people. So that's definitely my mindset. And now obviously being a social worker, and a mental health practitioner, I've definitely have gotten to work with the population a little bit, and it's good. I was always worried about like countertransference at first, like
Oh, sure.
I'm gonna put myself right back in the situation, or like if their situation was super super negative, there was bullying, like would I put myself in them, like, oh my God, what would you have done? Luckily none of that has happened. And
Just
then
a second. We should probably explain what countertransference is.
therapy terms, sorry. Um,
That's okay.
yeah, so countertransference is when you're putting yourself in a situation that you've kind of gone through yourself. So kind of if you're like as a therapist or a social worker or anybody in general, you might do this, you just didn't know what it was called. Like you're working with somebody and they're talking about an experience and something that you've been through. So for me, like if I'm working with somebody that's part of the LGBT, Q population and identifies as somebody in that community and they talk about being bullied or not being accepted, like putting myself in their shoes in a way of like, you know, or something that I've already went through, right? And so that was my only concern too, is I didn't want myself in those situations. And so I think that's partially why I just waited so long. I mean, like I said, it could have been done sooner, but college happened, and you just become busy trying to figure out what the heck you want to do with your life. And we talked about that, in the first episode of how I switched my mind many, many times. Think about
Yes.
that, like, was it this in a way of like figuring out like, was that the holdup in my life of like I want to keep switching? I don't know. Um, so I still think about that a little bit, but yeah. So counter transference, definitely can happen. But
It can.
so
Yes.
far, so far, so good in that aspect.
Yeah. Um, so I know you said that you feel basically the same, like not a lot changed after you came out. Um, but was there like some sort of relief when you did come out and you got so much support coming back to you? Like, was there just
Right.
relief, happiness? Like, was it just like a big sigh of relief?
Yeah. I mean, looking back, I feel like there was a lot of support there. And I think there was a sense of overwhelm at first of like, holy crap, like this is a lot at once. Like maybe I should have held off like posting a little bit, like telling my, immediate family and close friends. Um, but at the same time, like I felt like I was just on such a high and had that like feel of adrenaline, a little bit of like, let's just get this crap done and over with and move on in a way. Because I think it was holding me back a little bit. Um, so I feel like there was a good sense of support. And like I said, I feel like I mean I can't really recall a whole lot, which is crazy. Like that's what I mean. Like I think it's just gone now. But I feel like there was a lot of support at once and it was a little overwhelming. But like I said, I think it's kind of helped me so much where I don't really have a whole lot of memory of it. So which makes me think like, was it really holding me back that much? I don't know.
That's an interesting thought to have.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I can think about some of the things, but like, obviously I deleted the post, like, or the note in my phone. Like,
Mhm.
why, you think like, why did you delete it? I don't know. Who knows?
I think it was part of you just being like, you know what, I'm moving forward.
Right.
Like there's
Accept,
no looking back now.
right. Accepting it for yourself.
Hmm.
I mean, I accept things very differently anyway, so no surprise.
Yeah. I actually had a really good friend. He was from a different school than I was, and we met like at a church retreat. And the minute that I saw him, I'm like, yeah, I think you're gay. So this was back on MSN Messenger. I reached out to him and we became really good friends ever since, like reaching out. And he came out when he was in high school, I believe. Again, it's his journey to tell. But he came out to like a friend's mom is who he came out to
Right.
and to help navigate that. So
Yeah.
it's just kind of interesting.
You find that person, and I mean I could have went to like my mom probably, but again, like I mean I knew there was going to be support there. I never once felt like she was going to be like, get the heck out of my life. I don't want to see you again. Like I never felt like that. But again, like
Yeah.
that happens to some people. Like
Yeah.
like young kids. Like and it just like blows my mind on how that can be, right? And now throwing in like all the transgender stuff that's becoming really popular. Like I'm not gonna talk on that for a while because it is a tough subject. But I mean, I can't imagine, you know, being an individual and feeling a certain way and not knowing
Mhm.
how to express it, right? Like
Right.
my story is like I feel like then that's why I don't share a whole lot about it because my story was so different than a lot of people in my situation. Like you see things like on the movies, right? I don't know, have you there's a new movie out on Amazon Prime. It's called Red, White, and Blue. It's like all over TikTok. There's like a book about it. And it was all over TikTok, and I was like seeing clips of it. I'm like, oh, so I watched it. I'm not gonna give like super spoilers, but like they're two like political families. Like one's like the Duchess of like England or something, and one's like the President of the United States. And they like meet up in England and whatever, and they get into this fight and it's a whole ordeal. And so then their parents, who are like, you know, very involved in the politics, are like, you guys need to get together and put on this show for the media that you guys have been friends. Like, there's no hard feelings, whatever. Will they end up falling in love? And they're two males. Um, and um, the one male whose mom was the president of the US, very accepting. She like it just like showed like how the support should be, right? How you envision the support to be. And I'm not going to spoil the interaction. I want people to go and maybe YouTube it or TikTok it. But like her reaction was so perfect. Like she picked up the telephone. I'll just share this. She picked up the telephone and she called, I don't know, her assistant or Secret Service. I don't know who like she was calling, but like we're gonna need lots of pizza. Like, and they had pizza, and I mean, it was wonderful. But on the other hand, then in England, that's like frowned upon, whatever. So that was a whole ordeal. Like, that's how it probably maybe is over there. I don't know, or how it can be, right? You know that not everybody's experience is going to be the same.
Right.
It goes for all things in life too. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, so and so, you're ready to come out. Like, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be great. You know, there's going to be people cheering for you. I mean, I'll cheer for you. Call me anytime. But it might not happen like that for you and what people you have in your life. I can't tell you that, right? Just like I can't tell you that, you know, you're going to win $1 million. Like, I mean,
Why not,
you
Joey?
got yourself. But I mean, it's just, I think that's why I waited so long too, is it's not anybody else's story to share but mine. And I wanted to do it on my own terms. And when I did it, I felt like it was the right time then. Probably could have done some things differently, maybe, but I wouldn't have picked anybody else to send the first message to than my friend. Um, I mean, that's that won't ever change. And I think the social media aspect of it, like I don't advertise it a whole lot. Like, you know, I don't go on social media and share super, you know, super posts about like the LGBTQ, you know, like some people do. Some people go super crazy, and that's great. Like that's who they are. And sometimes I get that from people too, like, oh, you have a pride flag hanging up, or oh, like are you going to Pride Month? Like, are you gonna do anything for Pride Month? Like, you know, like that's just not who I am. And I feel like some people think that it's like an expectation to have a pride flag or to go to participate in Pride Month. Like, I mean, I'm not saying I never will, like, you know, or go to like a Pride weekend somewhere. Like, I'm not saying I ever, you know, I won't ever do that, but at this point in my life, I've never done it. But
Yeah.
So I've gotten that before for some people, and I'm like, I don't have to share anything with you. And
Mhm. Well, yeah, because people have this expectation, kind of how you pointed out earlier about like how you dress. Um, just kind of going back to like my really good friend, he dresses normal, he watches football, he follows sports, he plays golf. So there's not really like, there's not a, this person needs to dress this way and look this way.
yeah, like I definitely, I mean, I wear like skinny jeans. I have boot cut jeans too, people. So um I mean, I feel like my hair is normal. Like, I mean, I think the voice just gives it away mostly. I mean, I don't dress super crazy. I mean, I did dress like Gwen Stefani for lip sync competition. So I mean, I can pull that off very well. Maybe I'll see if I'll show people. I don't care. I'll see if it'll work. Um, and but I also follow sports too, mostly volleyball. So that probably doesn't help the situation. I
But
watch
still,
watch men's volleyball, and I know some of those people are not gay. So there you go.
yeah.
Um,
I just think people have this perception of like, okay, you're this, so you have to look a certain way, and it's not necessarily that.
right, right. But I also watch basketball. I watch some football. Like, I know how football works. Like, there's just some things that I'm not super good with. All right, I'm gonna show you this, and it's a little much, but
Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
I know I look like my mom in that photo too. So I was like, "Ooh, damn." Yeah, so I mean, I do fun stuff like that. Like, I'm not like a drag queen. Don't go out things. I mean, I probably could, but I don't want. That seems like it's a lot of work. Like, how they do that, which again, super all the power to them and how they can present themselves like that. I mean, I
Yeah.
can't imagine the work that goes
Well,
into it. But I mean, there's some stuff that I do like that, but not on a daily basis, you know? So
right,
again, it's all about the support you have and how you want to portray it.
right. So, say if someone came to you, doesn't matter the age, obviously, but what would you tell someone that was thinking about coming out?
Oof. I think with this all the time. Nobody has yet. I'm always waiting like for a client to. And I think that's the kind of transfer piece that would be tough for me because it's not my story to tell. You know, I want to be there and let this space. I do a lot of telehealth. Let this space be comfortable for them. But I think if somebody like non-client wise, like just a friend or a family friend, somebody, I think I would just kind of just let them share with me what they want to share with the world, if that makes sense. Like, what do you want to share, right? This is your story. Let it be your story, not my story, not your parents' story, not your grandma's story, not your best friend's story. Let it be your story because this is your story. This is your life. This is part of your life that you're going to release out, whether you share it on social media like I did or just to your close friends, like it's gonna be out there. You know, who's to say that if I would share it with anybody else and it could have been out on social media before I did, you know? We don't, and that's how social media is to, now too. But I think that's the biggest thing is just be a safe place for them and let them share with me what they envision their story looking like. Let it be their story and their story to tell. And I'm here as long as they need, right? You have to have those allies. Um, and you're gonna have people that don't believe in it. I mean, I know people that definitely don't believe in it, and cool. I don't care. And I still interact with them because that's who I am as a person, and they still interact with me because that's who they are as a person. But I deep down know that they ain't coming to my wedding. um, I'm not,
Yeah,
but I mean, still, you you want to just be respectful, and so anybody that's listening to this, if you know anybody that you might feel like is part of the community, right? Or, don't assume, right? Just be that person for them to come to and want to be your friend. But if someone also comes to you and wants to share this with them and you don't feel comfortable, let them know before they share a whole lot, because it's hard to share. It's a big part of their life. This might be their life that they're sharing with you. So, I think if you're that person that somebody comes to and wants to share this, they consider you to be very, very special in their life. And they probably want it to stay that way. So, if you don't feel comfortable with it, let them know right away. But I'm always here for anybody.
I agree. Um, before we wrap up, I know you mentioned one resource for individuals out there that
Yeah,
may be struggling or need some guidance or
right.
just need that extra push. You said the Trevor Project, correct?
The Trevor Project, yeah. Just Google the Trevor Project. Super great resource. Tons of resources online. They have a crisis hotline with trained um people that are trained specifically for that crisis hotline, that are available 24/7 to chat with. And I mean, just the amount of resources they have just on their website. I mean, mind blowing. They have a coming out handbook.
Oh,
Genius.
wow.
Genius. And it goes over like the different meanings of gender, right? And how people view gender, and what coming out means to individual. I mean, it's just, I mean, I'm not going to go into all the details, but I mean, a handbook on essentially how this could change your life, right? I mean, it is going to change your life, but in a good way, right? So, I mean, having a handbook for that is genius, I think. I mean, everybody's story is differently. I know I've said that many times through this, but still having that handbook to be a resource and just the whole thing. Um, I definitely feel like I could have benefited from that when I was in middle school and high school, just because I was closeted myself. I mean, um, but again, can't go back now. And I don't necessarily need, I mean, the support now. I mean, I go to therapy, so that's the support I get. But um, yeah, so that's my story in a nutshell. My journey. I guess it really wasn't a story because I kind of just forth, but I appreciated the questions. That was helpful because I never, I mean, I knew how, like, what I wanted to share, but I didn't really know how to share. So I think the questions were good. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. I just want to say I appreciate you being courageous to talk about it on this platform and being, reaching out to more people than just your Facebook reaches out to. So
Yeah.
it takes a lot of courage to talk about
Yeah.
what can be scary and
Yeah, I
anxious.
don't do it very often. I mean, I have some people that will still reach out. I mean, I have some people that will still reach out. I'm like, oh, do you have a boyfriend yet? Like just nonsense like that. And I don't give much attention to that because I'm like, I'm 30. I'm not in that high school, college aspect anymore of like, oh, you need to have you need to do this, you need to do this. Like it's my life. So um, and that's where I think it comes down to the privacy part of when that day does come where I have a significant other, I might keep it pretty private because that's just how I view it. But yeah. Anybody have any questions? Comment on our post, or you can message us. Oof, can't talk.
Words are
But
hard.
they're hard, right? You can email us midwestoutcastpodcast@gmail.com. You can message me individually on Facebook if you want to do that. I mean, again, I'm here for anybody that needs support. whether it is coming out or not, if you just need support and have questions, reach out. And if I can't help you, I'll work on finding somebody that can, because support is 100% necessary. It's very rare that we can do life all on our own with no support.
Yes. And just kind of piggyback on that, being human is hard. As I like to point out every podcast, because it's hard being a human. And I also just want to point out, like, therapy is there. Go find a therapist. If you don't like that therapist, it's okay. You could shop around. There's no one that says that you have to stay with that therapist. So,
No, not at all. I think I've been with 4 or 5 therapists since I was 14, and I don't feel bad about it at all. At all. Because at some point, especially if you're going for many years, at some point, that therapist might only be able to do so much, depending on what skills they have or what they can do. So always feel like if one therapist is not clicking for you, there's always other therapists out there. There's more fish in the sea. You just gotta move your pole around. That sounded bad. Sorry.
that's okay.
But again, yeah. And telehealth like this, because Caitlin obviously and I are not in the same place. So there's telehealth options like this where you can sit in your basement or your dining room, lay in your bed, whatever you need to do, and see somebody like this. In person is an option as well. I prefer in person because I like to talk and I like to just see that person there. And I drive like an hour and a half for therapy, and I schedule massage on the same day. So self-care 101, people. Utilize
Yes.
it to your advantage. It's always out there. So looking ahead, we're gonna record probably another 3 weeks or so, and we're gonna talk all things travel. You guys know traveling is my jam. I was trying to think what I say.
Yeah.
So we're gonna talk about all things travel, the places we visited, and some hidden like little treasures, places in Nebraska. Because I found a few things like, okay, I found it on Twitter, so who knows how accurate it is. But some things in Nebraska, but also like I've done some research and there's a lot. I'm like, holy cow. So some fun things here in Nebraska that I didn't know about, but just some fun places. So that will be coming up. And then one last reminder, because the Q&A episode is coming up. Find our post on Facebook. Again, email us, message us, whatever, and throw some questions in you would want us to answer. I don't want to say live because we don't do these live. I mean, we're live now, but we post them like that. And we'll answer them on the podcast. We can
Questions, things that you want more in depth of us talking about,
if
anything. We're open.
it's a tough topic. Oh my gosh, I can't talk anymore. If it's a tough topic, I'm gonna give it to Caitlin. So being really simple because she got the brains of the group. So, no. We are glad you're here, and we're glad that you have put up with us for 3 episodes. This has been a fun little adventure.
It has been. It has been quite fun meeting with you, talking
No,
over this way, but
need to like before this is over, like do this in person one time.
that'd be great.
Figure it out sometime. I think that
Yes.
would be fun. Maybe like the finale, the grand finale, not the grand finale, because we'll keep going, but. So we'll see you guys soon. As
Yes.
always, thank you. And remember, you're human. Being human is hard, but it's life. Go crush it.
Yes.
Gonna be September soon. It's a new month. Start fresh and crush it.
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for your support and continue to listen to us babble on about random
Yeah.
things. We appreciate it.
Yes. Always appreciate your support. So, all right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.